Hello world, it's Dave again, and I got a fun movie video. We'll say this time. You know, doing all these somber topics usually to do with teaching and everything. I thought this time I'm going to talk about drinking, just because I had an experience so recently with it. It was wonderful, but if you saw my last video, I was bitching about kind of the downside of it. But it brought to my mind how very different things are in Japan. The whole discussion of drinking. So I guess I can start it off. An interesting thing about drinking in Japan, which is worth noting, is the fact that when you come to Japan, if you're from Canada or you're from US especially, actually in comparison, probably a number of places in the world, alcohol as a commodity is fairly inexpensive in the States, and you can get large portions of it. And in Canada, maybe not so inexpensive. In fact, it is expensive in comparison to the States. But the point remains the same regarding portion size, that portions are quite large. And so when you drink, you get a pint, you get this, you get that, a shot or two shots, things like this. That you've got a large quantity of drinking culture, I guess you might say. I don't want to speak for everybody, of course, but when people party, they drink a fair bit, and when we eat in the West, it's also proportionately fairly large. Not everybody, I'm from Vancouver. There's a lot of health nuts there. There's a lot of people very health conscious, this and that. But generally speaking, compared to Eastern cultures, we eat a lot more than them, and our portions are much larger than theirs. And I'm not yet saying both, and there's a reason for that when referring to alcohol or food. So, yes, you got things that are pretty cheap in the States, a little more expensive, but in regards to portion size, they're quite large, like you might figure would equate to what our food is like. And when you come to Japan, things are different immediately. Of course, there's a huge culture shock. I'm halfway across the world. And one of the big things that changed when I arrived here was portion sizes. And I can see it go down in degrees, basically. When I visited my buddy in the States, a couple of my friends in the States, actually, I visited them in California. And it was incredible because, just being from BC, and I'm just north of them, it's just south of me. It's not that far away. But, customs and eating change, of course, as soon as you cross the border, where I was like, wow, there's incredible portion sizes for food. And then when you get to Canada, they're still quite large. I would never say that we're eating small portions, like I said. They're still in the West. We're still in the West, still pretty big. And then you go to Japan, and you discover that everything it's like food for ants. I would see things and I'd be like, that's an incredibly good deal. How is that so inexpensive? And then you get the portion size and it's about this big. I was bitching about in another one of my videos that I went to the movie theaters here. And when I ordered a large popcorn and a large pop, the large pop was like this big, or soda if you're from the US. And you get your popcorn, and it's like the size of a small in Canada. And then there's no butter. They don't serve butter here. Now, I'm sure they serve butter in the States. I don't even need to confirm that. I just know that. You can get butter with your popcorn in the States like you can in Canada. And everything when I arrived here, portion-wise, for food in Japan was just tiny. Absolutely tiny. And I've acclimatized to that. Absolutely. No problem. It's fine. I eat a little less, and, I got a bunch of health goals and stuff like that, so it works really well. I got my FitnessPal account. I'm doing lots of good stuff. But then I kind of figured from that drinking would likely be similar. That you might see prices probably associated like you would to Canada, where maybe it was a little more expensive and the portions were a little smaller. And this is where, it seems that Japan blows everybody that I've seen so far out of the water in terms of portions for drinking, where you would expect they would be small. They're huge here in a number of different ways. So when I look at prices, the cost of things here, some things are a little bit the same as Canada. You've got beer, and you can buy beer that's similar to Canada, but where in Canada we might have a cheap deal that you can get like a 6-pack for, I'm going to say like Pabst Blue Ribbon would be about $10. I think that's basically the deal on Pabst Blue Ribbon, I'm pretty sure. And then there's like Lucky Lager, similarly priced. Here, you get your medium range that matches Canada, but when you want to go low price on beer, you can find that easy. You can get like a 12-pack for $9, which is really good. It's immediately cheap. So I'm already seeing impressive portion sizes, and that's to do with beer. Now, the moment that you go to hard bar, the moment that you start drinking things like whiskey, it just goes off the charts. Where I've gone into, they have a store here called Mega Donkey, like Don Quixote, I'm not saying that right, I'm sure. And it's their equivalent to like a Walmart or a big box store. And you go into there, and unlike Canada, and similar to the States, they can sell alcohol in their corner stores, at the 7-Eleven, in their big box stores. Canada, it's limited currently to actual specific liquor stores. And in there, I was seeing 1.75 liters of whiskey for around $20 Canadian. So you better believe, I don't even think in Canada we have something that portion size. And it's just amazing to me when everything else here is built for little people and their drinks are built for Vikings. Like, it's crazy the amount. Like, you could buy, I mean, depending on the amount of drinker that you are, you could buy like a year's supply of whiskey for like under $100. It's incredible just to look at the portion sizes and the way that you can get it for so little money. So that blew me away. When you have all this food expectations, like I've discussed, coming down from the US to Canada, and then you see the food reflected, that I figured it would then be an extreme of Canada, where it not only would be more expensive, but the portion sizes would be smaller. So that's that. That's like if you go to the store and you buy it, it's criminally cheap. It's social problem inducing horrible. Or wonderful, depending on how you look at it. So that's that covered. And then you discover when you go out to eat, there's a couple of different things that you have. You've got Nomi Hodai, and you've got Tabi Hodai. And Tabemono, that's like food, and Nomimono, that's drinks. And Hodai means unlimited. And so you can go out to a restaurant and be ordering, whether it's beer and cocktails, but you can be paying, and it's usually, again, about $20. And then for 3 or so hours in a restaurant, you can be drinking in Japan unlimited. This is just criminally awesome. So it's if you want to get loser drunk, and I don't recommend that. I don't condone that. I'm just saying, if that were your horrible intention, that they can accommodate you here quite easily. And if you want to take advantage of that, reasonably or whatever, that you've got it available to you as well, where I certainly do not have that in Canada. I do not have unlimited drinking for $20 of like decent mixed drinks and like beer and stuff. So that's really, really cool too. And then it's funny, all these things, if you're a responsible enough person, it's easy to look after. You can go out, and I can go to the store and say, oh, I'm only going to buy this much. Or if you go out, and even ordering myself, the unlimited food and drinks for the evening, I'm hanging out with some people, that's not an issue in itself. I can restrict myself or keep an eye on things. But there's a few cultural differences that I'm warning about that can sneak up on you if you're not used to it. Mentioned in other videos, but I'll mention specifically now because the whole theme is drinking. So, unlike in Canada, when I go out with my friends and we're drinking in a pub or we're drinking wherever it is that we've gone to, you have your own drink, you have your own glass, and you pour it for yourself, and you have a night where you have drinks. And that, in Japan, at least within the social circles that I've gone out with, granted I've gone out with people from my schools, it's inconceivable and really bad form if you pour your own drink. And so what, your first thought is, oh, this is just really, really polite. And it's going to be really nice to be a part of that. And you can kind of display that you're trying to, be a part of the culture, and you're making an effort to not just assimilate, but, just like respect their culture. If you don't want to assimilate, you're just showing that you respect it. And you can go around and you can help pour drinks and stuff like that. But this becomes a real big danger where normally, if I've had a few drinks, I can kind of like catch myself and, I just won't pour anymore for myself, or I won't have another drink. But if you're out at one of these parties, you'll have had your, slam of sake, a little bit of sake onomimashita, and then you're a little inebriated, you look over and you've got more sake, and you're like, it's the magical sake glass that just keeps filling itself. And you really need to be careful not to let the kindness of those around you bring your drinking to a point where you might fall down afterwards and forget a portion of the evening. That shouldn't happen to anyone. I know a friend that it happened to recently, and it's horrible. Poor bastard. He had to deal with the embarrassment afterwards of not really being able to speak enough of the language yet, where he couldn't ask somebody, did he fall down in front of them, or was it elsewhere? He went into his school, I heard, and everything was fine. So everything's, good to go for him. So I'm really happy for him. But, for yourself in the future, protect yourself. If you go out with these people, have an eye on the fact that they're going to be filling your glass, and you might not be used to that. So when you're used to just cutting yourself off, maybe get used to watching when somebody is filling up your glass for you. This is my warning, my cautionary tale to anybody who watches this, because a lot of fun can turn into a lot of problems, especially if you've come over here to teach and you're going out with people that you work with. I mean, everybody's going to have a laugh. There's definitely like a cultural acceptance of the fact that when you're inebriated, that's stupid things happen when you're inebriated, And that's one other thing that I might touch on, which kind of forgives this, but shouldn't totally neglect it, is the fact that it is amazing to me when I go out and I drink or have a party here with people, that you see ages of people here partying like I've only seen, mid-20-year-olds party. Now, it's with a little more like social restraint, but the actual gung-ho, how quick you're putting back your drinks is amazing. I've been out to one party where I was seated next to this older woman of the staff, and I thought, oh no, I'm really going to try and talk to her, but I'm going to be careful of my drinking because I'm not sure, how quickly she's going to drink, and again, got to respect people, got to be careful of the whole scene that's going on. And our couple of beers get poured for us to begin with. Everybody starts pouring for each other, and I barely looked back, and she's bam, done. I was like, whoa, you're like in your 40s, and you just killed that compared to me. I had no chance. So people here, when they do go out to party hard, and that seems to be regardless of age. And so there's a particular acceptance of if you were to be a little bit lax on how intelligently you carry yourself through the evening, because a lot of people don't. They're I would say on average a lot better, and I think that's just innately because they're a little bit older, but there is also another higher average of people just being really, really tuned. And maybe a little bit more of a forgiving atmosphere because everybody's doing it. It's not like some young man's game. It's like if you're, 20 or, whatever, 20 to 50, you're going out and you're going to have to drink a lot. And although you don't have to, again, all these things, I'm sure you can get through it to the next day. But there is social pressure that continues that you think would be gone as you got a little bit older that continues. And I think it, if I were to philosophize, if I think about it, I think it has a lot to do as well with the fact that they're also, from what I have observed, it is not a myth that they're an incredibly hard, extremely hard-working people. And when they're at work, they're very, very disciplined. And so they have that additional steam to let off when they do go out. And I've only seen people having a really, really good time, and I'm grateful for that difference. I've thought to myself since I'm here, I wish back in my own culture that people felt a little more at ease to let go and realize they could act a little more foolishly, be a bit more of a kid in that kind of setting if, you've just been putting in the time elsewhere. But, yeah, all things to consider, really, really different. And one final note on the whole pouring for you thing, there are some instances where you could say no, or I was like, I had my Japanese lesson today, and I was like, it was almost, we were going to study one thing, and I almost turned it into just like a drinking vocabulary lesson on how to say, no, I've had too much, or that's very kind, but no thank you. Anything I could do to understand the culture a little bit better. But talking about peer pressure, there's instances where you got to be careful that if your social superior suggests that you drink, it's then even more important that you would drink at that point, So it's one thing if you've had it's easy to say to like a fellow teacher comes up and says, oh, you should have a drink. But if you have the vice principal or principal come up to you, not using any of the Japanese language here, just keep it simple. If they suggested you should drink, it's probably in the interest of your job to at least, take a modest sip of whatever it is that you're having, just to show respect for that elder in your group. And I like that. I like that too. But again, it's something you need to be aware of, another social detail. So this isn't like, this is my disclaimer at the end of the video. This isn't supposed to be some careful discussion of the ins and outs in drinking. This is just a glance at some of the things that I've noticed personally. So it's not like I get a lot of comments, but like, don't attack me if it's like, oh, you're gonna get people into trouble, or like you've given this false impression. This is just a little bit of my own experience, and take it for what it's worth. There's a grain of salt. But final note should be, it's a lot of fun. It's good fun here. Just be aware, and you'll pick it up as you go, that it is different, and you should be observant of those differences while you're here. Besides all those fun little facts that I talk about, the portion sizes, not relating to everything else in terms of their size here. So that's my long video here. That's my video, just chatting up a bit about drinking in Japan. It's different and it's fun. It's culturally shocking in the best way that you could experience. So if you like the video, subscribe, share, hit that like button. I'm always making more, but it's very encouraging when somebody hits that button. And if you have any questions, this was just like an impromptu. I've got some questions in my email right now that I'm going to try and respond to. But if you have any questions about coming over and teaching here, please do write me. I'll put my the contact in the description down below, so you can just fire me an email, and I'll make a video dedicated to you to discuss whatever it is that you might have a question concerning. Any topic whatsoever, barring the extremely illegal. And in that case, we'll just correspond through email. All right, yeah, like, subscribe, share, and like I like to say, until we meet again next time, well, thanks for tripping with Dave. Ciao for now. Peace.